Horizon Chance, welcome to Jackson. This is how China's 285 million export hub in Brazil will cost US billions. Yeah, this is BRICS basically. See, global economy is pretty, let's just say there is no right, like right or wrong type of way. But in the end of the day, you can't predict how things are going to go, and there is going to be right or wrong, but that's for the history to tell, right? It's a hindsight. Right now, yes, Trump's tariffs could help US, but most is looking like it might not. Just the way US's economy has been built, US relies on other countries to have its $13 trillion economy, because US doesn't make shit, most of it, after the 30 trillion in land, right? So with the India's tariff, US doesn't do that much, like business with India. That's fine. But every other thing, every other tariff around the world, yeah, BRICS is basically anti-dollar now. It wasn't before, but it's definitely now. Like there were a meeting between BRICS. They're like, oh, we need to go away from dollar. This is just that Brazil is part of BRICS, B, and China is part of BRICS, that's C, right? So yeah, this China and India relationship is getting better now. After 7 years, first time it's actually getting better because of Trump's tariff. So what Trump is doing is, making sure other powers are getting together, forming an alliance even stronger, which is not really going to help USA. But overall, I think for the, long term, it's good for global economics all around. So 285 million doesn't feel like that much, but it is enough, right, for now. And I'm guessing this is like yearly output. So I don't know what exactly is this for, probably shipyard or something, but yeah, we'll see.
This export terminal is one of the world's biggest outside China. It is being built in Brazil, just outside Sao Paulo, by the Chinese state agricultural giant COFCO. At a cost of $285 million, it could spell the loss of billions of dollars in revenue for American farmers. Here's why. Beijing has spent hundreds of billions of dollars on American agricultural products over the last decade, making China one of the top markets for American farmers.
We'll be discussing trade.
In 2018, Washington introduced the first tranche of.
And this is one of the reasons why like tariffs is higher in India rather than China, because they rely on China a lot, even at the agriculture level. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, like how this is going to affect, like future policies. But yeah.
Paris and China, and Beijing retaliated with tariffs of its own. But the dip in trade was short-lived, and China's demand for American agricultural produce recovered and even boomed in the following years. But the fallout from the first trade war left Beijing looking for other suppliers. Rich in beef, raw materials, and crops, Brazil has become the #1 food supplier to China, overtaking the US. Brazilian agricultural exports to China reached a record high of around $60 billion in 2023. But thanks to this port in southeastern Brazil, that relationship is set to become even more lucrative. In 2024, the port of Santos handled a record 180 million tons of cargo, of which more than half was agricultural goods, such as corn, sugar, and Brazil's key export, soybean. Brazil's soybean exports are worth over $50 billion, and about 30% of that trade passes through Santos, mainly on its way to China. But the port can hardly keep up. Today, more than 90% of the port's capacity for exporting agricultural bulk goods is in use, according to logistics consulting firm Macroinfra. That's why COFCO is building this export terminal here at the port. The state agricultural giant hopes to expand its capacity for exports from 4.5 million tons to 14 million tons, bringing billions of dollars in revenue. But in the US, farmers worry that this increase could be achieved at their expense. Trump's first trade war led to more than $27 billion.
Yeah, see, this is catastrophic, I think. Trump doesn't think about long term right now. Right? People say he's a businessman, but you need to understand how businessmen work. Businessmen worry about quarterlies. President needs to worry about long-term thing. So this is a catastrophic issue because, yes, short-term tariffs will help USA, but this will give a monopoly to other powers like China. And China is the only power in the history of like past at least a century that ever come close to USA. Not just close, in certain way, like logistically better because they have just numbers. They have many ports, right? Just by numbers, they can do a lot of things. And that has never been the case in the past, but now is. This is such a delicate time that, if anything, US should be wary of like how how to approach this so they don't lose monopoly on a lot of things. But the way Trump is like just bullying everyone, like literally bullying India. Oh, but you're buying oil. Yeah, okay, you're buying uranium. Europe is buying gas. India's oil purchase is not even close to what feeding the war effort. You're doing it too. But that uranium is not an issue. Buying gas is not an issue. You just need an excuse to like bully India. India's not going to be bullied. Same way, China is definitely not going to be bullied. It's much more powerful. So this is just going to like bring BRICS together, right? That's why BRICS was created. It's an economical thing, not like NATO. It's not a military thing. It's an economical thing. But because of USA, it was kind of going, kind of not. Like we have USA, why would we worry about BRICS? But now BRICS going to go into overdrive. This is what's happening right now. Right? I'm not hating on anybody. First of all, like, look, doesn't matter how much tariff people put on India or whatever, I'm going to be fine. I'm rich enough. So I don't get angry or shit like that. But this is going to hurt USA in long term. This is like, we'll see, right? If you don't think that, I guess we'll see. But this is what I think.
Dollars in losses of agricultural exports, according to USDA research.
We have $1 trillion trade deficit with China. Hundreds of billions of dollars a year we lose with China. And unless we solve that problem, I'm not going to make a deal.
Since Trump's return to office, China has found itself under renewed pressure, and American farmers are bearing the...
Okay, trade deficit and things like that doesn't work in a way. It's not simplistic. It's much complex. US is constantly saying that India is, buying a lot of US things, but no. US is buying a lot of Indian things, but India is not doing the same thing. Yeah, that's because you make shit in India and then you buy it. That's why India has to put tariff on, so it's like a level playing field. If you use resources from India, labor and material, everything from India, and you just call debts because you have like some kind of like copyright. Oh, Apple, iPhone belongs to Apple. So half the profit will definitely go to Apple, but all the material and everything, whatever labor comes from India. That's not fair. In the end of the day, you'll just suck dry India and create pollution while pretending to be green power of the world. Most of the Indian pollution is basically because of like outside powers and outside companies. So India has to level field it. That's why there are tariffs and not vice versa. If you put tariffs vice versa, it's going to hurt you because you're the one who's making shit in India and purchasing yourself. So it's just making costlier things for you. Economy is not so simple. Oh, trade deficit, this and that. That's not how it works. It's not that simple. You can say that in simplistic ways so people, your own base, can get duped. That's what Trump is doing. Trump is not a moron. He realizes how things work. But he needs to like rally up his own people. Like, say India is the wrong way. China is the wrong person. So yeah, I'm doing right. And people are like, yeah, I'm not going to think about this more than 10 minutes because why would I? That's not my job. This is how politics work.
Right. Export data in April showed China was already cutting back on US soybean purchases. It has also reduced the amount of pork it plans to import in 2025. As Trump urges Beijing to quadruple its purchases of American soybeans in a bid to reduce the trade deficit, the expansion of the port will allow China to buy even less from the US.
I mean, obviously.
The port fits into Beijing's wider plan to access South America's agricultural bounty.
CCP is not going to get bullied. Come on. They can rule with iron fist. Trump can do that. Trump will be impeached before that shit happens in US. CCP can rule with iron fist. Xi Jinping is not going to be bullied like that. Like, Communist China is somewhat authoritarian. US is not. So this is not going to work.
As China suffers from a lack of water and arable land at home, Chinese companies are laying hundreds of miles of railroad across Brazil's agricultural heartland. And they're even planning an ambitious rail project to link those regions to China's $3.5 billion megaport in Peru. This nearly 3,000-mile-long railway could shorten export times from Brazil to Asia by up to 10 days, according to China's state media. Still in its early stages, this would be an unprecedented endeavor for the continent. But while this booming relationship with China promises billions of dollars in revenue, there is a threat for Brazil. Brazil is now facing one of the fastest processes of de-industrialization in the world. Over recent years, Brazil has increased its exports of raw materials to China, while China has shipped manufactured goods to Brazil. That's had a devastating impact on Brazilian factories over recent years, leading to job losses and a reduction in manufacturing as part of the country's GDP. The new terminal in Santos threatens to further contribute to the country's growing deindustrialization. For a while, it looked like Brazil would be a rare winner in Trump's trade war. It was going to export more agricultural goods to the US and to China, as both countries were locked in a bitter dispute over trade. But recently, Trump imposed a 50% tariff on many Brazilian goods. That's one of the highest in the world, and it's partially linked to a criminal case here in Brazil against the former right-wing president Jair Bolsonaro.
Yeah, he's Trump's friend, let's be honest. Right? I don't know if he's wrong or if the new guy is wrong. I don't give a fuck about any of that. I'm not gonna go into that, so people in the comment basically tell me how I'm wrong. Anything could be the case. That's not the point. The point is this guy is Trump's friend. He was literally saying, oh, this is my friend, and having him in the White House constantly and like, oh, my friend, this and that. So yeah, Trump have allegiances. Same thing is happening with India. Pakistan nominated Trump for like Nobel Prize. So Pakistan is seen as like more favorable, right? The military general, whatever Marshal, whatever the leading guys for Pakistan is seen as friend of Trump now. Trump is favoring him more than India. That's why the tariff has increased. It's very simplistic when you think about it. Like, you're the biggest power in the planet. You're the biggest guy on the planet because of it. Like this petty thing, oh, he's my friend. Like, look at the landscape, man. Don't pick and choose like this. This is the problem. Trump is a businessman. Businesses work at the small scale, not the grand scale like how countries work.
He is on trial for allegedly plotting a coup in the country in 2022. He is one of Trump's closest allies, and Trump has said the case is a witch hunt against the right in Brazil. The Brazilian government understands that this increase in tariffs is a way to pressure the government and the courts to drop the case against Jair Bolsonaro, but they've made it very clear that that's not going to happen. China is already Brazil's biggest trading partner.
Yeah, all Brazil has to do and other countries like rely on BRICS a lot. BRICS needs to get together and create some kind of a deal, like NATO, but this time with the economy, that everybody supports each other, doesn't matter what. So that way you don't have to worry about like if you're making shit in your own country, you can rely on BRICS. So you don't have a lot of tariffs, a lot of like export tax and shit like that. So nobody suffers. Economically, all BRICS work together as one country. If they can do that, they don't have to rely on any other power. And this is good long term. Because the world relies on US too much, and that's not good for US either. A lot of you Americans feel like you're getting exploited, and that maybe is true. If you're the leading power, people expect shit from you, which is not fair. It's not fair to you Americans. So this is good if things diversify. People won't look to you when shit happens around the globe to like mediate. That's also good if other powers rises up. There needs to be balance. It's not good for put every shit on US, right? So this, in a way, this is like whatever is happening for good reasons. Short term is going to be issue, but long term is just going to be good. Well, that was how China's 285 million export hub in Brazil will cost US billions. That's short term, I think. Maybe US won't have $40 trillion economy, but maybe you won't have to put $1 trillion into defense if nothing is relied on you. Maybe you won't have to maintain thousands of military bases. So in long term, even if you lose your economy, you might be better well off. There are countries in Scandinavia which has much less money than you, even though live happily, because they don't have all this shit, all this pressure. Right? I'll see you next time.